Hello and a warm welcome to Federal special program Capital Beat. Tomorrow is the second phase of polling in Jammu and Kashmir, where about 26 constituencies are going to polls with major candidates like Omar Abdullah and BJP President Ravinder Rana being in the electoral fray. But the big question we are going to ask today is that is Jammu Kashmir 2024 elections any different from what we have seen in the yesteryears? And the reason being that this time the separatist and the fundamentalist forces are quite active. They are being backed by Jamaat. Say, for example, Engineer Rashid, his party, Awami Ittihad Party, is very, very active politically. And everyone on the ground is saying that Engineer Rashid is almost seen as a proxy of BJP. So how are the odds stacked up on the ground? Joining me now is Professor Radha Kumar, who's been the former interlocutor of Jammu and Kashmir. She's an author, she's a columnist. Thank you so much, Radha, for joining. And my first question to you, of course, is that do you find this 2024 elections any different from what we have seen in the yesteryears?
Thank you for having me, Nilu. Yes, of course, it's very different in the sense that it's the first election in 10 years, and it's the first opportunity after the removal of special statehood and special status, and the division and demotion of the state into two union territories. So this is the first opportunity in 5 years that people are going to get to express their opinion on these very far-reaching changes that were made by the union administration and parliament.
Right. So Radha, I mean, do you see BJP having any chances of winning this time? Because the claims made by the Prime Minister, claims made by Amit Shah that, you know, there has been a journey of development, there have been tourists with a heavy footfall, and look how we have transformed Jammu and Kashmir. Now, is this narrative clicking with the people on the ground?
No, because, I mean, the facts on the ground are quite different from the narrative. Nothing has improved in Kashmir. In fact, it has grown far worse. Economically, this state was one of the best performing states in 2012, 2013, according to the government's own planning commission's figures. Now the Niti Aayog. Now you see the Niti Aayog ranking, and Jammu and Kashmir is amongst the least performing states. It is at any rate in the bottom 50% rather than in the top 50%. Mining rights have been given to non-locals. Tourism development, the government is trying to attract national rather than local entrepreneurs. The new citizenship or domicile certificates have added a whole large new number of aspirants. Land is being sold by the government, by the lieutenant governor's administration, without consultation again with the people on the ground. The development works that are taking place in some areas are causing conflict rather than prosperity. So there's a host of issues. I mean, you find that Pandit temples are being encroached upon, including also Hindu temples in Jammu by unscrupulous developers. And you have a bureaucracy which is quite frankly ignorant, unaware, and disconnected and completely inaccessible.
So is this, you say would be a fallout of transforming a state into a UT, because a UT now is held by the LG, the reins are being held by the LG, and the LG is being remote controlled from Delhi. So is this a fallout of that?
It's a fallout of more than that. First of all, taking away statehood. This is the very first time in the history of India, 75 years, that you have demoted a state to a union territory. Secondly, never consulting. Without consultation, this should be unacceptable unacceptable and unconstitutional. We don't have the ruling on that either. When it comes to a UT issue, you can have better administered and worse administered UTs, but I think almost everybody would agree that in a democracy, an elected administration is always going to be preferable to a central administration through a lieutenant governor. And indeed, that is the reason why so many union territories have, over the past 20 years, been given the right to have an elected administration, which they did not have before. So you can say that even in terms of union territories, what is being done in Jammu and Kashmir is a regression to a very ugly colonial past.
Rather, this is how you would see it geographically, that the state has been demoted to a UT, and because of which there are so many things happening, and because of the fact that it's being remote controlled by Delhi, by NLG. But talking about the 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 mindset of the people now, has, because everybody has been saying that, since for so long, Jammu Kashmir needs a healing touch. Now, has BJP been able to provide a healing touch to the people? Do you think that the people are happy with the way BJP has interacted with them? Article 370 was abrogated, but has the healing touch been provided by the people?
And no, of course not. Quite on the contrary. First of all, as I said, the union administration put almost 6,000 political leaders, cadre, party cadre, independent human rights advocates, and so on, into jail. They imposed a clampdown and a complete communication blackout on the state for a good 6 to 9 months in order to get these measures through that they did, of removing special status, removing or hollowing out Article 370. All of this is done not only without any consultation, but, as I say, with open, blatant suppression of any voice whatsoever. How on earth can that be seen as a healing touch? Now you say post that. What did they do after all of that? Well, they certainly did not consult after that either. Where are the consultations? Where are the people of Jammu and Kashmir being asked what do they want and how do they want it to be done? Not once in 5 years have you seen this, have you? It isn't. There's been no open consultation. For that matter, there doesn't seem to have been any closed-door consultation either, whether in Jammu or whether in Kashmir province. And look at Ladakh. They forced, the Ladakhis, who have always been peaceful, part of the Indian mainstream and so on, have been pushed into doing hunger strikes, sit-ins. Look at Sonam Wangchuk. 6 months now, that man who has become a hero to Ladakhis has been campaigning for 6 scheduled status, which was promised, by the way, 5 years ago. So, this is just utter irresponsible behavior, I would call it. These are border areas. They have very active and inimical neighbors, whether it is China or whether it is Pakistan, who are constantly intruding into the territory, who are sending armed infiltrators in. And you are alienating the very people who ought to be your greatest support against.
But if people are not happy, and what you are telling me, that people are not happy, their voices have not been heard. So now the India Alliance is also trying to give an alternative to the people. Their manifesto is out. Rahul Gandhi yesterday was in Suran Court, and he was also making a lot of promises that, when we come back to power, you will get back all your rights. So is India Alliance really resonating with the people, the kind of promises they are making? Does Rahul Gandhi, does India Alliance really have attraction? And will people vote more for India Alliance as compared to BJP?
I would say that we may be asking too much. Certainly, they have traction in the sense that they are likely to do well in this election. That that can be seen more as as a deep disappointment with the BJP in Jammu and a desire to keep the BJP out at all costs in the valley. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily a positive in favor of the India alliance, but it's certainly a very large negative in favor of the India alliance, a negative against the BJP.
Right. But what about these fundamentalist forces? Rashid Engineer, then you have the Jamaat this time backing the independents. A lot of independents also this time were in the fray. So is this going to make some difference? And because about Engineer Rashid and his party, Awami Ittehad Party, people are saying that he's almost working as a proxy. Is he actually a proxy?
I don't want to get into the proxy issue because, to my mind, that's a very complicated issue. Uh, the general argument that many people are making is that whether it's the Awami Ittehad Party or the various PDP breakaway factions, such as the Apni Party, or the entry of independents backed by the Jamaats, all of this is going to fracture the vote. And that is undeniable. Of course, it will fracture the vote. However, I don't see that as playing necessarily to the BJP's advantage. I doubt that the Apni Party, for example, which would likely ally with the BJP post-election, they will not get enough seats to be able to make an alliance work to the extent of claiming.
Rather, but we do see a
The
resurgence of these.
others,
No, I'm saying that we do see a resurgence of the radical forces. Now, what is the kind of impact it's going to have? And supposing if these radical elements do get about 3 or 4 seats, now what kind of a transformation will we see in the Kashmir landscape then?
the radical, quote unquote, radical elements, let us say, whether you're talking about Engineer Rashid's party or whether you are talking about the Jamaat-backed candidates, I imagine they will certainly get more than 3 or 4 seats. But they are not necessarily going to ally with the BJP, is what I was saying. In fact, I would be very surprised if they allied with the BJP or even gave them outside support. Um, in the larger, on the larger question of what does it mean for such parties to campaign in elections, well, you know, the Awami Ittehad Party has campaigned before in elections. And I don't think that you can say they have shown any great signs of radicalism when they have won their 1 or 2 or 3 seats before. But once again, you can't say that 1 or 2 seats that their backed candidates won contributed to any great degree to radicalization. It is true that the Kashmiri Jamaat has traditionally been seen as more pro-Pakistan than the rest of India's Jamaats. And in that sense, there would be a question mark on whether if the Jamaat wins 5 or 6 seats, will they be opening another door for the Pakistan-backed groups? But there is no evidence yet to believe that that would happen.
Does it carry a risk as well? We might see a return of militancy. We might see a return of terrorism. Though, of course, I mean, we do see terrorist activities happening off and on. But can those activities rise? Can you see a spike in those militancy? I mean, is that a worry?
I would say that the real risk was what the union administration did in 2019. If there was one that was likely to lead to a rise of militancy, it was the actions of 2019, which steamrolled over the sentiments of people in the valley in particular. And as it now turns out, also alienated many in Jammu. Now, add to that the gloating, the triumphalism over a humiliated people, and the intensification of an anti-Muslim rhetoric nationally has played out very badly in the Muslim areas of Jammu province. Don't forget that that is a very mixed population of Muslim, Hindu, and small minorities. So, you know, when we talk about risk, it is not these people who pose a risk. It is what we ourselves or our government has done that poses that risk. Do you think that when you close down any independent media and you put journalists in jail under the UAPA, anti-terrorism type legislations, don't you think that is going to encourage anger and militancy? When you take away the rights to special status, when you take away statehood, don't you think that is going to encourage anger and militancy? When you give economic opportunities to people outside of the state but not within the state, don't you think that is going to give rise to anger and militancy? Why are we bothering with, you know, a handful of MLAs? These are the big actions that have created a terrible situation in that state. And right now, all right, you are doing Danda Raj. You cannot do Danda Raj forever. What happens when you lift that Danda Raj? Aren't people's anger, isn't that going to then erupt in an even way?
For the viewers, I'm just repeating what you said because those are significant points. You said that BJP has alienated the people. BJP has steamrolled the sentiments of the people. BJP has brought in a terrible situation, which you won't call anything but Danda Raj in Jammu and Kashmir. I'm just repeating what you just said. But then, now the next question is that where is PDP this time? Of course, National Conference has allied with the JKNPP party, and it's part of the India Alliance. But where is PDP? Is PDP completely isolated and it's paying the price for allying with BJP in the previous years? And that's why people are not taking PDP seriously.
PDP has had a very, very unfortunate history. First, that alliance with the BJP, which was intended actually to help bridge the division between Jammu and Kashmir, failed because basically the BJP did not respect the agenda of alliance that they had agreed, that Mr. Ram Madhav had negotiated with the PDP's Hasib Drabu. They violated it at every turn. And basically, they used the alliance to get to know MLAs of the PDP and ministers of the PDP, and then engineered the defections and the creation of the Apni party. So one can only feel very sad for the PDP that this has occurred. I do see on the positive side that many people are joining that party now. So let's see what happens over there.
So all in all, how do you think that the elections is going to really manifest? 8th of October, the results will be out. But do you see a fractured mandate? Are we going to see a hung assembly? Who do you think seems to be having an edge?
I would say the edge is with the NC-Congress alliance, but my guess would be that they would need the support of some of the smaller parties to form a government and to form a stable administration. Their problem is going to be a much greater one, which is the rules that were passed under the Reorganization Act just prior to the elections being held, which have transferred almost all powers to the lieutenant governor, from security to police to administrative appointments and transfers, even to the extent that the cabinet minister, that the LG's representative can sit in on cabinet meetings, that ministers have to submit their agendas to the LG's office. This is something that is going to have to be battled post-emergency by any new elected administration, if they are to function. Or
You were saying that the edges with the National Conference and the Congress and the National Conference alliance, but they would need support of the smaller parties. Do you think that BJP might muddy the waters then if the support of the smaller parties is required, and they would make things difficult for the India alliance from forming the government?
I don't think so. By the way, this is my speculation. I speculate that they might, and put emphasis on might, need the support of smaller parties. Let me put it this way. Most of the smaller parties that are likely to do well, excepting a couple in Jammu, but the ones in the valley are all committed to restoration of statehood. They all talk about return of autonomy, which obviously is a long-term agenda, not an immediate one. But they all talk about human rights, independence of media, and so on. And so, therefore, they would naturally be much more likely to support an NC Congress alliance than they would be to support a BJP alliance. Even if they don't offer formal outside support or extra coalition, I don't see them opposing steps towards more human rights or steps towards restoration of statehood. On the contrary, I would see them supporting those steps or those calls or demands in the legislature. If anything, they would act as a pressure on a Congress NC government to do better.
My final question to you, and that's a last question, that how would you really see, whichever government comes to power, are we going to see a Delhi model being unfolded as far as governance is concerned, like LG having more power than the chief minister? And is it going to be like a rerun of what we are seeing in Delhi?
I would say yes, but even worse. The lieutenant governor in Delhi does not have the extensive powers that have just been given to the lieutenant governor in Jammu Kashmir. Now, of course, it also depends on the character and the behavior of the LG there. The Delhi LG is determined to pick fights with AAP all the time on every single issue, however small, however silly. I doubt that an LG in Jammu Kashmir would have that determination to pick fights all the time with the elected administration, because remember, international eyes will be on Jammu and Kashmir and what happens post-election over there. Jammu and Kashmir has always been an international gaze, and it will continue to be. So I would expect the LG to behave a little better in Jammu Kashmir than the LG in Delhi, or for that matter in Tamil Nadu or Bengal behaves. However, this LG's term is limited. He has not behaved particularly well thus far. His term completes next year. We don't know whether he will continue or a new LG come who will be even worse.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Radha Kumar, for joining on The Federal. It was wonderful having you on the program. And one appeal to the viewers who are watching this interview, subscribe to our channel, send us a feedback, and stay tuned to The Federal.